As I've been researching the history of Christianity and history of our culture and how our culture has arrived at the ideas that it has, I came to the conclusion that the number one assumption, and I could be challenged on this, maybe it's not number one, but it's definitely up there. The number one assumption that most people in Western civilization have about Christianity is that it is the worst. it's the problem. It is that's what we need to blame for most of the problems that we have in our culture and even in the world. And it's this underlying assumption that that is the case, and therefore Christianity needs to be held down, marginalized, maybe even completely destroyed in the more radical views. And the problem is that this thought is not without some foundation. And so this is going to be a painful discussion for believers like us, because when you look at history, there are blemishes on the record. In fact, that's understating it. There's gaping wounds on the record. Christians have done terrible things. Is it true that religion poisons everything? And when people say that, they're usually pointing at Christianity. No, I don't think that is the truth. But evil has been done in the name of God. Some of those who claim the label of Christian and aren't, but even by those who are genuine Christians, evil has been done. I mean, look, I've brought my own amount of evil into this world. And I think if anybody's honest about it, they would say that they have too. One point that, I can tell you a conclusion that we're going to lead to throughout all this is that, yes, Christians have done bad things, and they've done it in the name of God. But when they have, and Kirk and I mentioned this, I think, in last week's session, it is almost always an example of Christians not following the teachings of Jesus. You're not going to find the teachings of Jesus being followed, and that's what's causing the evil. It's Christians who are following even their own evil desires, because we're all still influenced by our own flawed, fallen nature, or following the evil found within the culture that surrounds them. And we're all influenced by our culture in whatever era we have lived. We're familiar with how certain evangelical Christians have fallen lately, or have been discovered to have fallen. And there's a Canadian in that group, a pastor out of Toronto named Bruxy Cavey. And he's been found to have had some illicit affairs and been removed from power. And here's a quote by him that I think relates to this. He says, "My failure is not a failure of the presence, power, or teaching of Jesus, but an example of the pain someone like me can cause when I ignore his presence and fail to follow his teaching."